Imagine waking up to find nearly everyone in your town has vanished. Streets eerily silent, shops abandoned, and churches echoing with prayers for salvation no one thinks will come. Welcome to Europe in the 14th century, a real-life horror show known as the Black Death. This wasn't just one monster, but three: bubonic, septicemic, and pneumonic plagues, teaming up to wipe out about 60% of Europe's population. That's the equivalent of losing nearly 450 million people today. Think about that. Cities cut in half, entire families erased from the records. Now, before we dig into how you might have dodged this medieval bullet, do me a favor. Give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe bell, and drop your boldest plague escape plan in the comments. We're about to time travel into survival mode, 1347 style. So grab your herbal remedies, don a homemade mask, and get ready for a wild ride. Let's start with the basics. Survival is equal parts luck, smarts, and a dash of creativity. Sound familiar? That's because, even in the 21st century, our biology holds more secrets than we'd like to admit. While diseases are constantly evolving, some survival rules never change. First rule: stay away from crowds. Pneumonic plague rides the air in sneezes and coughs, an invisible threat lurking at feasts, sermons, markets. It's the medieval version of avoiding that one guy at a party who coughs into his hands and then grabs the snacks. Meanwhile, the bubonic plague, a gruesome one, hitched a ride on fleas that in turn called rats and mice home. Back then, people had no clue they were living with tiny, bloodthirsty time bombs. These infected fleas could leap up to 2 meters, about the size of your dining table, to find a tastier, uninfected snack. Social distancing, anyone? Sometimes hiding out at home with your Bible and a locked door literally meant the difference between life and death. Italy, with its endless harbors and trade routes, was basically a welcome mat for the plague. Once Milan heard whispers of death sweeping across the land, their ruler responded with brutal efficiency, nailing up the homes of the infected, trapping whole families inside. Harsh? Absolutely. But somehow, Milan recorded the lowest death toll in Italy, a grim reminder that desperate times call for unspeakable measures. How's that for a twisted culinary metaphor? And here's an odd detail. A group known as the Bikini, not the swimwear designers, took charge of body removal. Many were lower-class men infected themselves, tasked with carting away corpses. Sometimes, survival meant taking whatever work you could get, even if it was the stuff of nightmares. Of course, there were some bad apples, and before long, the streets weren't just filled with plague, but with desperate thieves as well. Now, while most people ran from fire, Pope Clement IV's doctors suggested he embrace it. Their advice? Hang out in a literal ring of fire, believing the flames would keep the noxious bad air at bay. Bizarrely, it worked. He survived, while a third of his colleagues perished. Whether it was clever science, the heat really did deter rats and fleas, or pure luck, who's to say? But it's one of the most dramatic stay-away-from-me strategies in history. Here's an unsettling fact. The famous beaked plague doctor costume was born out of necessity. It looked strange, sure, but there was method inside the madness. The mask's beak was stuffed with herbs, flowers, and sometimes vinegar-soaked sponges, all intended to purify the air. While it didn't stop the microscopic bacteria, the leather helpfully protected against flea bites. And hey, sometimes terrifying fashion is better than no fashion at all. Let's talk about one of the weirdest side quests in this story, the Flagellants. These were groups of people convinced the plague was God's punishment for humanity's sins. So, naturally, they marched through towns publicly whipping themselves. The thinking was, if you punished yourself hard enough, divine mercy would follow. Instead, all they did was move the plague from town to town, showing that good intentions don't always lead to good results. As things spiraled, cities tried shutting themselves off entirely. Armed guards at city gates, strict curfews, ships turned away at docks, anyone with a cough denied entry. Venice pioneered the idea of quarantine, forcing suspicious arrivals to isolate for 40 days. Yes, that's where the word comes from. Did all this help? A bit, but the death toll still soared. Strangely enough, some survivors made it through the pandemic with nothing more than a robust immune system and a little luck. Not because they drank arsenic potions or tied live chickens to their bodies. Yes, people really tried that. Turns out, just being healthy upped your odds. A reminder that a balanced diet and fresh air were good ideas, even before fitness influencers and vitamin C gummies. One curious detail, outbreaks faded in winter, only to roar back in the summer. So yes, escaping to a remote Norwegian cabin might have bought you time. But sooner or later, the plague's icy grip stretched northward too. And here's wild. Some people were actually born with genetic resistance to the plague. Scientists think certain Roma populations and others had gene clusters making them less susceptible. Talk about winning the genetic lottery. For the rest of medieval Europe, luck ran out fast. It's almost hard to blame those Florentines who, as noted by their chronicler Boccaccio, decided to simply party through the chaos. Eat, drink, dance, and squeeze every bit of wild, imperfect life out of each day. After all, if doom is practically a neighbor, why not invite it in for one last round? Today, the Black Death is treatable. Antibiotics can cure it with little fuss. But for those caught in its original path, every day was a dice roll against a nearly invisible enemy. So here's the million gold coin question. Would you have survived the Black Death? Drop your possibly heroic, possibly hilarious answer in the comments below. And for more astonishing, jaw-dropping stories from history, don't wander off just yet. There's plenty more where this came from.